In week 2, we looked at the size of the Indian diaspora and its impact, particularly in the United States. The considerable impact of the Indian diaspora might lead us to assume that India has automatically lost out in terms of talent mobility. The considerable impact of the Indian diaspora in the United States might lead us to assume that India has automatically lost out in terms of talent mobility. This is the brain drain story with which we are familiar. But we should all know by now that the story is always more complicated. Remember from week 4 that India is complex. A 2012 book by Devesh Kapoor of the University of Pennsylvania, Diaspora, Development and Democracy, the Domestic Impact of International Migration from India, provides a conceptual framework for understanding the repercussions of international migration on migrants' home countries. First, migration has a complex economic, social and political impact that we should not ignore. I'll focus on just 2 important examples: remittances and the IT outsourcing industry. Foreign remittances are an underappreciated resource of income for many countries. With remittance flows of around $70 billion in 2014, according to the World Bank, India is the world's largest recipient of foreign remittances. As economists like Dilip Ratta have shown, foreign remittances, or dollars wrapped with love, to use his words, play a major role in many countries' economics, especially in helping improve the balance of payments situation. Secondly, India's IT outsourcing industry, now valued at over $100 billion of revenue a year, is a perfect example of the role the Indian diaspora has played in generating economic value and employment back home in India. Without Indian origin staff working in the West, it is hard to imagine the leadership of these companies would decide to shift so many key business functions to operations in India in the 1990s and even today. The diaspora helped create an important bridge and allowed India to seize a huge opportunity that laid the foundation for India's current startup frenzy and an entire generational mind shift. Now let's come to the issue of talent mobility itself. Today there's much more evidence to suggest that India is starting to benefit from brain circulation than it is losing out on brain drain. Like with our earlier story of Indians succeeding in America, both in terms of top talent, CEOs and founders, and in terms of scale, the H-1B program, we can demonstrate brain circulation to India in both respects. Let's first take top talent. A number of Indian companies, in particular the billion-dollar unicorn startups, Flipkart, Snapdeal, Ola, have recently succeeded in attracting top talent to return to India from Silicon Valley. Veterans from companies like Google, Adobe and Cisco. Pankaj Gupta's Medium post, which you'll find in the further resources section, on his move from Twitter in San Francisco to Stayzilla in Bangalore, is just one of the recent examples of this trend. While anecdotal, this demonstrates that amongst the most sought-after technical talent in the world, there is both interest and very attractive opportunities to be found here in India. A few studies point to a broader image of the state of brain circulation in India, particularly among IIT graduates, those prestigious engineering institutes. The 2004 report of the IIT Review Committee estimated that the IITs of Bombay, Madras, Delhi, Kanpur and Kharagpur had trained approximately 133,425 students until 2003. 75% of these alumni were living in India and 25% still abroad. The sentiment for staying here or returning to India is likely even stronger today. A 2013 study from 2 academics at the University of New Mexico conducted a survey of 260 undergraduates at 2 of the original 5 IITs. While a small sample size, it found that 54% of them intended to stay in India upon graduation, either for further studies or to work or to start up. There was also a higher commitment to returning to India to pursue careers compared to previous generations. The world of big data will increasingly give us better tools for understanding large patterns, including those in talent circulation. LinkedIn, for example, gives us one such snapshot. Tapping into its network of 330 million professionals, it examined net migration inflow and outflow of members in 20 countries. Not surprisingly, small hubs like UAE and Switzerland top the list in terms of net gain from relocation. The flow for India, however, was surprisingly positive at 0.5%. The US was actually at minus 0.1%. So to briefly summarise, from what we have covered in previous weeks, whether it's the fast-growing economy, the startup ecosystem, the new government, or a sense that opportunities are beginning to multiply here, there is undeniably increasing interest from Indians abroad to become part of the In India story. Foreign governments have also taken notice, and so our next section looks at the US-India relationship, a defining partnership of the 21st century, in the words of President Obama.